All right, I got some stuff I want to get off my chest, and yes, it's one player I'm using as an example in particular, just because this player embodies everything you would think from these type of people, and you'll know what I mean by quote these type of people here shortly. So, as you know, I like the patch for UFL. I want to do content for both, right? Fully aware that I started and really gained the track in any and all the traction that I have from UFL. Fully aware. With that being said, I'm doing this on the backdrop of like clips going back and forth, so you can just see exactly why it is that I do want to play both, because both are good games in their own right. You put UFL in the brand new game category, and after that last patch, it's doing well for a brand new game. You put EAFC in a category, of a veteran game, and it's finally doing amazing. It's the best football game I've played in a long time. Could even be the best I've played. Yes, it's total manual defense. It leads for a lot of goals, but the alternative is always worse. So it's an easy thing to add some AI defense until it gets perfect, more realistic goal lines, but scoring lines, I should say. But it's still an amazing game, and the reason why I'm saying that is because UFL it's difficult many times to just play UFL. Period. And I'll give you a prime example. Tonight, start the stream, going to a game. It was a great game. The first one, zero lag. Great gameplay. Going to the second one against Dagger. The DaggerSports. He happens to live in Jamaica. I happen to know that, I should say. And many people do, because he streams and has a small content channel. And I want to go into, details on that. So, typically speaking, I'd be all about supporting anybody and everybody that wants to start a channel, share content, help people out. But the bottom line is this. You go to the channel and you can see, first and foremost, he's a clickbait content creator. And what I mean by that is, if you go to any one of his videos and break it down, yes, if you're brand new and you don't know anything about like the game or even football and stuff, you can maybe listen to his videos and think that they're helpful. But anybody who knows even just a decent amount can click through and see that he's got the clickbait titles, and he's just talking gibberish once you go into his videos. You can tell by the way he plays, he's never played a football game at any high level. And so the fact that he has any kind of channel giving advice on football games is wild. These games take skill. They take a level of commitment, and he's never put in the time or the effort. He simply puts together some clips and says some gibberish and tries to get people to follow him. And it looks like it's worked pretty well. He's done it for a while now. Still pretty small. Like if you times my growth up to this point by how long he's done it, I would be far past. But that's not why. That doesn't matter. I could care less. Let's say tomorrow, because I'm doing EAFC along with UFL, my followers cut in half. I'm still not going to just stay away from a game that is a great game as far as EAFC. I mean, I'm still going to do both no matter what, because it's not about followers and all that for me. So with that being said, my point is that the type of guy he is kind of adds to what I'm about to talk about. So when you go in and you log into UFL, for one, you got to get ready for long wait times. It's not instant games like it is in EAFC, because the player base is thin. And it's only going to hurt the player base worse, which is the last thing UFL needs, when every other game you play is just a lag mess. When there are lag games in UFL, it is unbearable. And I know many people have experienced this, because I've seen it in the comments. I see it in the chat during streams. But being the type of person Dagger is, I went over to talk to him about it, right? And simply said this. And you guys tell me if I'm wrong about this. I said, you are going to inadvertently chase so many players away just by playing this game, because it is unbearable playing you. The lag is ridiculous. You can't move against them. The frames are literally dropping. You can see it freezing. Your players are uncontrollable, right? And so, like, even if it's just a half a second at best at times, half a second in a football game is a huge issue. And that's like in the best case. A lot of times your defenders are running literally, as far as like game measurements, like 2 feet out of the way. And it's because the actions are so delayed that by the time it registers in game, you've already done a couple of direction changes. By the time it registers like a tackle in game, you might be ready to go pass because you already won the ball back, or your opponent made a bad pass. And so even if it's just a half a second, but many times it's even worse than that. And so it makes it impossible. So I was trying to tell him, like, just off of the sheer fact because of the lag, because obviously being in Jamaica, and clearly it has an effect when you're playing players that are obviously, not in an area where you would typically match them, but because the player base is so thin, you do. The biggest problem I have with Dagger is that he can't admit to that at all. He literally, this is the guy that will sit there with a straight face and try to say, oh, UFL is better than EAFC, or no, it's right there. And it's like, he knows there's nobody in their right mind that can watch this video right now in the background and then watch this next clip of UFL and compare the two. You just can't. Now, pre-patch EAFC, yes. You could say, yes, EAFC has all the bells and whistles, it looks better, but it's a broken game, so UFL is definitely better because once it gets certain animations and stuff like that, it's got all the spacing and the stuff that EAFC doesn't have. That EAFC is pretty much broken at its core, so therefore UFL is a better game, and I would have 100% agreed with you. But post-patch, this EAFC game is simply better. They've even surpassed UFL on the spacing, which I truly believe EAFC, with their new patch, they got their inspiration from UFL for the lack of defensive assistance as well as the spacing on defense. As a matter of fact, UFL has sort of went backwards a little too much as far as the AI assistance and, the jam-packed clustered defense, which leads to a lot of 0-0 ties. But that's here nor there. Why I'm bringing up Dagger is because those kind of people are the problem. And when you have a thin player base, meaning you have a small number of players constantly playing each other over and over, it doesn't take many players like Dagger, right? DaggerSports, or the Plas King that we all know, or the Jonathan 2011 that we all know, or the Santos Samba, whatever, that we all know. That cluster of players right there alone can single-handedly ruin UFL's chances of growing any sort of healthy player base, at least in this area where if you match any of those players, you know what I'm talking about. Because those handful of players right there, usually when you match someone in UFL, you'll match them 2, 3, 4, 5 times in a row, right? Even more, maybe you'll switch between 2 or 3. So imagine playing a Dagger, for those who know, and if you don't, just imagine the laggiest opponent you have where you can't move against someone, and it's like that every game. Imagine playing that player 2 times in a row, or 3 times in a row, or within 2 hours you play him like 4 times. And then imagine just getting one more other player that's every time you play him, it's a very laggy game. You guys clearly don't have a good connection when you play against each other. And imagine between those two you have like 6 games, let's say, in a couple hours, which leaves you with what? Let's just say 2 really good games where there's no lag, where the opponent, you match them and it's a good connection. Okay? Who's going to sit there and do that? Nobody's going to sit there, right? It gets to the point where the minute you see that name come up on the screen, you know that you're about to match that player over and over and over again, and you know that you can't move against him. It's no point. And he's such a he's such a rat and such a negative person that not only does he release these clickbait videos, I mean, look at it, some of the titles. Toxic new way to score, meta way to play midfield. And it's like, what you do is you press sprint with your midfielder and you'll run past a defender. Great job. Now go try it. Top 10 meta this, top 10 meta. And then you listen to him and it's just nonsense. He puts there's not even fake like intelligence in his videos. Again, if you're brand new to any sport, you might watch his videos, and that's probably what he's looking for, and he's a snake oil salesman. And I can't stand those type of content creators. I said it earlier on stream, and I'll say it again. When you have content creators like DaggerSports, right, you have young, impressionable people, or even older people that might get in the game and just not know about football, you literally are ruining their experience indirectly because you are feeding them nonsense, and they're following your lead simply because over this course of time that you've been, creating videos and stuff, you've got some followers. And when you hear him on stream and stuff, he's not like a bad person by any means, but he'll lie straight to your face and have no problem with it. Time and time again, people come into a stream like, dude, it's impossible to play you. You constantly, it's lagging, and then the way he plays, it's like he knows it, but no, what are you talking about? I've never once had lag. There's nothing. In the meantime, you see his ping on his screen says 78. You see the frames dropping. Sometimes his streams will drop. It's like, so he's lying blatantly, and that's what I can't stand is the dishonesty. It's like he doesn't owe anybody an apology for lagging out like that because it's not his fault. UFL shouldn't be matching players against them. Like, that's the bottom line. Unless they're close enough or unless they have a good connection. Otherwise, there's no point. You're just going to chase players away. You're going to be left with Dagger logging into UFL and waiting hours and hours. And if you notice, I challenge you to go watch some of his streams. He has such long wait times, way longer than even, like, I hate my wait times, but his are so much longer. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? It's because of his location, right? And so then it extends out past the 5 minutes, and then he always will match people and it ends up being a lag fest. And that only thing that I'm saying why I'm doing all this is because to then blatantly lie about it and try to pass it off as, oh no, I'm just so good. You guys are just jealous of me. You guys, and I have the video up. You can literally see. Now, I know it's harder to see in video, but you can still see the drop frames. You can see the defenders, how they react, and anybody who's had those lag matches, you can just tell by how the players are moving, right? In the example that's online right now from the stream, his first goal, I win the ball with Camavinga at the top of the box. I win the tackle. I go to pass it to Chouameni, I believe it was, and the commands were so delayed that after I tackled and won the ball, it literally nothing occurred. It kind of just sat there. Chouameni kind of just was waiting to receive like the ball. I pressed the command, and meanwhile, Darwin Núñez, who I just stripped, gets the ball back and goes and scores. Now, it might be hard to like see exactly that on the screen because it's so quick, right? I mean, football is a quick game, but if you slow down the frames, you can absolutely see it. Like I said, I already have the video up there. For whatever reason, when I go to like save it, that's what I was going to have in the background of this. I can't save it yet. Once I can, you better believe I'll upload it. I don't care if I'm repetitive on this, but I didn't want to wait to release this for that video because I don't know if and when I'll be able to save it to my device. I don't know if it's because I ended the stream abruptly. I don't know if I have no idea why I can't save it to my device, but it's still on my channel. You can go watch it right now. I saved it under second game, Dagger lag game, so you can literally go watch. I explain what happens in the goals just like I did now, and you can see for yourself. If you're watching, you can see how the screen kind of freezes and drop. I call it drop frames. I don't know crap as far as like the actual terms. You can see for yourself where the screen kind of freezes, and when that happens in game, your player literally, like, you'll be moving, and for a brief second you freeze, right? And then once you get back into it, it's almost like your command wasn't active when that little freeze happened. So it puts you so far behind, it's literally nearly impossible to defend. So the reality of it is, and many people know what I'm talking about, is that it is such a joke that he could only muster a 2-1 win, and that I was even able to come down and score on him like I did with how bad that lag is. And many people know this, including him, right? But he'll play ignorant to it to, like, hype up that win for his ignorant followers or whoever's on the streamer, or just to get more clicks or more views. He can't admit the truth. Instead of having an honest conversation like, yeah, man, I don't know why I'm matching up with you guys on my end. Here's how it feels, or whatever, and really get a conversation going. And then maybe UFL, we can all reach out together and try to find a solution where everybody, guys like Dagger face, aren't ready to just quit the game, because you better believe players will, and eventually they won't come back, and it's just going to get worse and worse. It's going to get worse and worse for him too, but guys like him are so selfish and such dishonest people that he would rather just lie instead of talking about an honest issue with the game, right? So his location and facing many players that he does, I mean, just in my stream alone, there's constant players that will come in and just say it's impossible to play him. And there's other players like him too, but because he has a channel and he's got a voice out there and he streams, he could easily be doing what I'm doing and try to like get this out to the UFL so they can make another fix with their servers or with their gameplay, basically their matchmaking. Have it where players can literally block players and they don't play that player anymore. But you could submit a request and tell them why, and they could check it. They can literally check, okay, this player doesn't want to play this player anymore, and you can make sure it's not just because that player doesn't want to get smoked by somebody, because that's no reason to not play someone. But if it's for the purpose of lag, which it is with Dagger, and then they can submit it, and you can go in and literally see the guy's ping is like 80, right? You can literally go see whatever you need to. Maybe they need to submit video footage when they want to block a player, and you could see how laggy the game is, right? Then what you would end up with is Dagger would probably have no opponents to play, and he couldn't play UFL. Well, that's unfortunate. Maybe UFL can find a way to give him opponents that where it's not lagged out like that all the time. But it's just funny how the only players that seem to have this lag issue are the same ones that also are the glitch players, are not the ones that go for OP mechanics, but I'm talking literally go for bugs, and that are always having awful records and no skill. But I don't want you to just take my word for it. Go to DaggerSports, go look at his videos. It's laughable how ignorant he is. He has zero knowledge of the game. He's putting these videos out here. I promise you, if you're watching his videos and trying to learn from him, he's a snake oil salesman. Ask anybody who's at a high level of game or whatnot, and they'll tell you. And those kind of content creators are trying to take advantage of people that don't know any better. They're just looking for actual guidance. That's why people like Dagger Sports drive me crazy, and Plas King and those guys. And it just so happens it's the same guy who has laggy games versus everybody. And instead of using, having a platform to be able to talk about it and try to see if we can come up with a way to fix it, and you have someone on my side that's representing people who are getting lagged out against him, and then him just representing how he feels, just wanting to match up with people, and unfortunately it's laggy all the time, but he doesn't want to drive people away. That would be being a man about it. That's how I would approach it. Dagger is not a man, he's a snake. He's a snake oil salesman, and he's going to, like I said, inadvertently drive people away. Or maybe it is. Maybe he knows he is going to drive people away, and he just doesn't care. But as long as you're facing players over and over, and you have players like DaggerSports popping up on people's screen over and over with those unplayable type of games, no one's going to want to sit there and lose to someone with no skill like that, or very little. He has a little bit of skill. But no one's going to want to sit there and lose to players with very little skill like that, because a vast majority of the time it's just so laggy you can't do anything, right? And so that's the only reason I'm upset, is because, well, one, he's just not a good person. Anybody who's going to put those clickbaity nonsense, ignorant videos out when he has no clue what he's talking about, and he knows he doesn't, right? You could still do streams, you could still be cool, but stop trying to give BS advice. That would be like me getting on here and trying to give medical advice. That's about the same thing as Dagger trying to give advice with football games. I mean, it's ridiculous hearing him. It's almost cringeworthy listening to his videos. But unfortunately, there's some people who don't know about football that will take in his BS. So I'm okay with supporting anybody and everybody and whatever they want to do to help this community, help the football gaming world. However, the truth is the truth, man. And at the same time as I'm willing to help everybody that is deserving of it, I'm not just going to sit here while these nonsense, because they're in FC as well. They're not just in UFL, but these nonsense snake oil salesmen, who also happens to be one of the players that shows up on your screen, and that it's going to be a glitch, nonsense, lag, whatever you want to call it, fest. It's just funny how they're always one and the same. And the guy won't even have an honest conversation about it. He will literally sit there and act like there's no lag, and sit there in front of the 10, 12 ignorant people. By ignorant, I mean they just don't realize that he's, just nonsense, a nonsense type person, a snake. And he'll sit there and go, oh, no, there's nothing at all. Everything's fine, man. My team, look at how good your team is. And it's like, what does that have to do with not being able to move, dude? You know that you're lagged out. You know what lag means. You're playing ignorant right now. And it's just impossible to sit there and talk to someone who's that big of a snake that they can't just have an honest conversation. It's the epitome of fake. It's the epitome of what the youngsters nowadays say. He's just Cap. That's what he is. You look up Cap and, picture of him is under the definition of Cap. So, with that being said, I just can't stand it. I hope somehow UFL figures this out and addresses it, because these lag games, especially with a thin player base where you're playing the same guys over and over and over, these guys are just going to ruin the game. Like I said, some aren't going to do it on purpose. They just want to play. Others probably know it and could care less. And I was hoping to maybe get a good dialogue with Dagger and see if maybe we could reach out to UFL, use our games as an example, show it from his side, show the video from my side. But unfortunately, Dagger is a spineless coward that just wants to send out his clickbait videos full of gargled nonsense, literal nonsense. I would say go watch, but don't give him any more views. Trust me, it'll save your eardrums from listening to the BS he spews. It's literally garbage. So, with that being said, I'm not trying to be as negative as I'm sounding. It's just some people just need to be told what's up. It is what it is. Facts are facts, and the laggy nonsense pretty much led to this. But if along the lines I'm spitting truth and it may hurt somebody's feelings or I sound pretty upset, it's because I am, man. I don't want to be negative. I don't want to dislike UFL or not want to stream it or not want to create content for it because of players like Dagger ruining the game with the laggy games. And by ruining, I just mean, dude, we could easily come together and maybe make something good out of this and probably get to UFL, especially since both of us have a bit of a platform and we have some people behind us that could help us. But you can't do that when you have someone that's like Dagger that can't admit on his side, what's going on, right? So hopefully enough people see this that understand what I'm talking about and understand, as negative as it can sound, I'm just trying to make UFL a playable game, a sustainable game, okay? Not just, man, this could be good, or, yeah, it's cool to get when there's no lag, but there's so many games that you just can't play. Why waste your time? I want to try to get it to where you can log in just like EAFC, and every single game you play, at the very least, you're going to have fun. You're going to have the same type of gameplay, right? As simple as that. So, please, let's see if we can try to do that together, since some snakes like Dagger will not.